Welcome to the Inquirer 1.0. Today we have a superb upload on the Blue Angels MC of Scotland, and they've also got chapters in Europe as well, but we'll get to that shortly. Now, can we just smash the likes out there, guys? Just smash those likes. It really helps my channel, which is free at the point of use. And with that being said, let's get on with it. The Blue Angels MC was founded in 1963 by Alan Morrison and Bill Stone Gordon. Like many outlaw 1% biker gangs, they were started by like-minded, non-conformist men who wanted to live outside of traditional norms and wanted to be part of something more edgy, outside traditional rules. There are many reasons given for the choosing of the name Blue Angels, connotations associated with the Scottish flag, to name but a few. However, one thing was for certain: the initials of Blue grew to sum the MC group up perfectly. B for bastards, L for lunatics, U for undesirables, and E for eccentrics. Walter Novell, the legendary crime boss, and maybe Glasgow's first godfather, cottoned on to the fact that organised street gangs were beginning to wield more power in the 60s and be more organised. Being a cunning strategic mover, Novell tapped into some of these gangs to help him with his various criminal activities. Novell ran a crime gang called the XYY, and during a big court case, his beloved daughter Rita, married to William Gunn, a member of the Blue Angels, was acquitted for witness intimidation, but her partner Gunn was jailed for 5 years for threats to kill, directed at one of the lead witnesses. The XYY name came from the fact in 1977, its members were involved in 4 different trials, and to avoid cross-contamination, the principals were given an anonymous idents, Mr. X, Mr. Y, and so forth and so on. Rolling back to the 60s, the Blue Angels had an infamous clash with the Merry Hill Fleet gang, made up of dangerous mods. The mods had strong showing in Glasgow's underbelly subculture, such as the Merry Hill Fleet, the Calton Tongs, Gorbals Cumbie, and many more besides. But the Blue Angels MC was the first serious firm from the alternative music culture and scene who grew to be enormously powerful and influential as an MC 1% biker gang. There was serious money to be made in Glasgow through criminality, and the toughest and smartest gangs tended to get the lion's share of the profits through anything from robberies, drugs, and the list goes on. The war with the Merry Hill Fleet started in a bar called Curler's Tavern of Byers Road, which was a popular place to listen to music and get high on drugs and drink. The Blue Angels had frequented the bar on this particular night, and for a good time of no doubt womanizing, partying, and adventure, as is the norm from the outlaw scene. However, an equally adventurous and dangerous young man from the Fleet mob, dressed up to the nines, came into the bar and a fight erupted. To explain what happened next, there is no better place to start than the Blue Angels MC website itself. The suits ran in slashing with their razors, and the Blue Angels retaliated with their flick knives, switchblades, and tire levers. There was bawling and shouting, guys were slashed and stabbed, and several guys collapsed with weapon wounds. This brutal, bloody battle would not be the end of the hostilities, as deep resentments on both sides festered after the Curler's Tavern bar. Tit-for-tat attacks became the norm, with both sides keen to deliver as much street justice as they could on the other. As quickly as it had started and blew up into a gang war, as quickly did it de-escalate, as calmer, wiser heads from both gangs decided to put grievances aside, as there is nothing worse for business than daily violence. It brings the unwanted attention of the boys in blue, which is something neither side wanted. To give a clear picture of the clashes in the 1960s, Lenny, a member of the Blue Angels, in an interview with the Scotsman said, "Our first clash was with Merry Hill Fleet in the 60s, but there were worse ones to follow. I remember one fight in September 1964 with a rival gang. There were hundreds of us, about 300 each side, right in the middle of Glasgow. That was a bloody night. I was handing it out that night, and one of us got life in prison for it," says Lenny. As time progressed for the Blue Angels, they forged new links on their runs to England, opening chapters in Sheffield and Leeds, and became friendly with another biker MC, the Road Rats of London. Apparently, the Blue Angels MC did open a chapter in London, but it did not work out due to the lack of support it received, perhaps due to the geography. Violence comes hand in hand as an outlaw biker, and the trouble wasn't isolated to Glasgow in the 60s and 70s. In Leeds in 2008, the owner of a bike shop, Andrew Mallum, was shot with a crossbow by Paul Miller. In the mainstream media, they are said to be members or associates of the Blue Angels, but in the attempted murder trial, Paul Miller, who admitted the offence, said, "The first I heard of the Blue Angels was when the police seemed to be obsessively going on about it in the interview." His defence counsel, Duncan Smith, asked, "Have you ever undertaken work as a hired assassin?" Miller replied, "No." The backdrop to the conflict seems to be to do with a business disagreement or an alleged dispute Mallum had with the Blue Angels. Like most court cases, there is usually more to the backstory, but that will be known to only the Blue Angels MC and Mr. Mallum. Ultimately, Miller was cleared of attempted murder and was convicted of wounding. It's worth noting that in 2010, Mr. Mallum was attacked yet again at a biker rally where he was knocked unconscious by a gang of men with hammers at a biker rally, the Ganton Gathering near Scarborough. The gauge of the power of the Blue Angels MC wield is highlighted by the fact that Scotland is the only country in Europe which does not have a Hells Angels chapter. The Blue Angels shut down any attempts by the Hells Angels to get a foothold in Scotland, but they continued to expand their chapters. A turf war involving the Blue Angels and the Nomads, a club formed in Aberdeen in 1966, started after the Blue Angels expanded into Aberdeenshire by patching over the Road Mutts and Tribe 21 clubs. The biker war reportedly started, partially, for control over the organisation of lucrative motorcycle festivals. The conflict led to a string of violent attacks. On 28th of September 2013, a Blues Angel member refueling his motorcycle at a petrol station in Aberdeen was beaten with a baseball bat and a metal bar by Nomad members Gavin Blair, Alistair Thompson, and Alexander Mackey, who then fled the scene in a car. After being chased along the A90 road by approximately 30 to 40 Blue Angels members on motorcycles, the Nomads were the victims of an attack at Fotherland. Blair, Mackey, and Roberts were ordered to carry out 200 hours of unpaid work in April 2014 after pleading guilty to assault. In a separate incident, around 20 masked Blue Angel members, armed with hammers and metal bars, allegedly tried to gain entry to the clubhouse of a rival club in the Morden area of Edinburgh on 11th of August 2018. The clubhouse was destroyed in an incendiary attack in the early hours of the following morning. A seriously injured man was rescued from the burning building by firemen. Blue Angels biker Adam Andrews, who suffered a broken leg, a broken back, and a collapsed lung while carrying out the attack, was in prison for 3 years after being convicted of willfully fire-raising at Glasgow's High Court. In a further incident, on the 8th of September 2018, Blue Angels members Ian Ewing used his Vauxhall insignia to collide with Nomad's biker Colin Sutherland, causing Sutherland to fall from his motorcycle on the A98 road near Cullen Moray. Ewing and a group of unidentified accomplices then attacked Nomad members Colin Sutherland, John Sutherland, Edward Forrest, and Nicky Syrat with a claw hammer, a tire iron, and a baseball bat. The attack was allegedly carried out in retaliation for members of the Blue Angels being assaulted earlier that day. Ewing was arrested shortly afterwards in possession of a hammer and an item of clothing bearing the slogan, "Blue Angels Northeast." On the 3rd of February 2020, he was convicted at the High Court in Edinburgh of attempting to murder Colin Sutherland, assaulting John Sutherland to his severe injury and permanent disfigurement, and assaulting Forrest and Syrat to their severe injury and the danger of their lives. Co-accused Patrick Noble was acquitted on the same charges after the jury returned not proven verdicts, while charges were dropped against Kyle Urquhart and Ian Yeomans. Ewing was sentenced to 7 years in prison, but it's only fair to say that he is fighting this conviction through the appeals courts. To perhaps give some balance to the Blue Angels MC, Caldy in the interview with the Scotsman said, "People's perceptions of us are just fairly stereotypical. Hairy, violent, sex mad. But we don't think about that. We're rebels trying to do our own thing, and we don't care what society thinks of us. We've put on shows for sick children, had them posing on the bike for pictures, and we do a lot of work of adapting bikes for disabled riders. But no one thinks about that side of us." Lenny then gave an example of the respect and power they do have in the UK and Europe. Today, violence is more person to person. It's about individuals. There's no gang rivalry with us, but we do command respect. The whole gang warfare thing is pretty dated anyway. We still get different gangs together for gatherings. They don't like each other. They snarl at each other. But because they respect us, they respect each other. However, as Lenny is quick to explain, the Blue Angels are more than prepared to fight their corner when required. Violence is a pillar of our lifestyle. If we have to fight to protect our lifestyle, then we will. But I can think of only about 2 occasions when we've been the ones who started it, he says. 4 years ago, we were in Belgium, and 2 of our guys were shot by another gang. We came back and wiped them out. 19 of them were hospitalised. That interview from the Scotsman guys was from 2006, I believe. Okay, so on we go. On February the 15th, 2020, Alan Morrison, one of the club's original founders, was laid to rest in Glasgow as bikers from around the globe came to pay their respects to the great man. He lost a battle to lung cancer, and those close to him said Alan was much loved by his friends, family, and fellow bikers all over the world. Rest in peace. The Blue Angels actually have footage of the day on YouTube, which I will leave a link in the description. Okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. The next episode on the Blue Angels will be the Belgian chapters. That'll be episode 2 coming soon, so hit the notifications. If you liked it, if you can hit it, give us a like, and that would be fantastic as well. All right, guys, take care.